Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by my channel. Tony here. Tony's LPs Are Us. We're in Studio E. We have the Elvis vintage fluorescent light on. That's really cool. I love that. And I want to thank everybody for stopping in, whoever you are. If you're VC, if you're just cruising through, you're a Door fan, you like the Doors, this is about the Doors. This is about a Black Friday Record Store Day album I got. It's the only one I bought this year. Actually, my son got it for me, but it's the only one I bought this year. I bought quite a few in April, and the list really didn't appeal to me, and I really didn't want to spend the extra money for things that I'm not really sure how they sound, right? That's the problem with Record Store Day. A lot of novelty stuff. You're not really sure if it's going to have that sonic, organic, you know, ability to move you as records we buy, you know, from legit companies, Acoustic Sounds, Music Direct, you know, tone poets, things like that. That we know, Rhino, that we know we're going to sound good, so we you know we buy those. Record Store Day is a different animal. But anyway, I picked up this album, or like I said, I didn't even wait in line. My son got it for me. He was great. We got this, The Doors, live in Detroit. Now I did an unboxing. So technically I'm doing another unboxing. I'm going to talk about the arena. A viewer contacted me when I did the unboxing and said, you know, that's an epic, awesome, historic, iconic arena, Cobo Arena. Now I knew the Cobo Arena was where most of Kiss Alive was recorded at. The Kiss Alive album, as you all know, if you're of that genre, of that age, I'm not really from the Kiss Army, but I do have some Kiss records. But this was recorded at Cobo. This was recorded at Cobo. Now this is a great album. So is Kiss Alive, but it's not my thing. But this is a great album. Bob Seger. This just kicks ass. This is one of my. I have to do a live album video, and I definitely have to put this up there. Just amazing. So this album was recorded there, and he said it's iconic, and when I did some research, he's right, it's iconic. It was built in 1960. It was workable until 2010. Between 2010 to 2015, it was demolished. I do not know what is there now. Probably condos, right? Condos or townhouses. It sat 12,000 people. Bands like the Stones, Parliament Funkadelics, Prince, Ike and Tina, of course, were there. The Sex Pistols, Madonna. I have a number of bands I wrote down. Bruce, Jimi Hendrix, The Who, Fish, Zeppelin. You know, everybody. I'm missing, you know, probably hundreds. You know, it was in vogue for 40, 50 years. So it was built in 1960 in Detroit. And when the Doors played there, they were going through a tour, a U.S. tour called the Roadhouse Blue Tours. Now I'm just going to give you a little bit of background about the tour, about the arena, because when I looked this stuff up, it gave me more pleasure in listening to this record. This is a great sounding record. I'm going to break it down a little bit for you, so if you just bear with me, I'll give you some background on the tour. Now, you know, Jimmy died in '71, July 3rd, 1971, at age 27. Hard to believe. But in 1970, the Doors did a tour, Roadhouse Blues Tour it was called, and that's what this is from. And some things I read between 22 and 24 shows. Some of the arenas, they actually did a matinee, actually did a second show, so they did two shows. This was supposedly, this record that's here was released on CD in the year 2000. And I believe, from what I read, it's one of the longest concerts that the Doors put on, and definitely one of the longest concerts that's recorded. You know, they were recording a lot of these shows. This show was actually recorded for FM broadcast. And if you listen to the intros, which is just fantastic, Jimmy comes up after Jim comes up after the band does their little intro, and he just names all these different cities. you know, Dallas, of course, Detroit, just down the line, and that's because the show was being broadcast, and that's probably why we have such a great recording of this, because this recording kicks ass. This recording is a lot better than what I read about online. Maybe it's because those CDs that were out weren't up to snuff, weren't mastered properly or whatever. But as you know, and I talked about this, Bruce Botnick produced and mixed this record. This was cut by Bernie Grundman. It's spread out over 4 albums. I think the longest side is maybe 16, 17 minutes aside. It has a 19-minute version of Light My Fire and a 17-minute version of The End, or vice versa, but they're long versions. And I'll give you some things to listen for, some really cool things to listen for in that. So we got that all out of the way. Also, some songs from this tour was actually put on this record, which was their first live record when Jim was still around, Absolutely Live, which I talked about when I showed my Doors collection. Now, this is a great record as well. I'm not certain which songs were from the tour at Cobo, this concert at Cobo, but apparently there were some songs from that. This was edited from a bunch of, there's over 200 edits in this. They actually mixed the same tune from different arenas. So that's not a true performance, but that's what the Doors did at that time. That's what the company decided to do. But it's a good record overall. If you didn't know that, you couldn't tell. And also, apparently, there was a misnomer on here. Little Red Rooster is on this album. This is a live album as well. And this was after this. This was when Jim, I believe Jim had passed. I can't see the date on here, but I'll tell you in a minute. Yeah, this was in the 80s, so this was way beyond that. And they were looking for stuff to put out. And Little Red Rooster is on here with John Sebastian, who's also on this album, this Live at Detroit. I'm saying Detroit because that's how they say it. So it doesn't really specify that Little Red Rooster was at Cobo. I guess it was implied, but that's a misnomer because in the liner notes of this record of the Doors Live in Detroit, it said that was not from this concert. So Little Red Rooster subsequently is not on this box set. So that they cleared that up right away. And once again, there's the back of the great Kiss Alive album, which probably is one of the biggest selling live records ever, right? So let's get down and show you a little bit about the music here. We'll talk about the records. Here's the box. Here's the back. There's all the tracks, loaded with tracks. Really great, easy to listen to. It flows. I was kind of disappointed a little bit in the packaging. Like I said in the unboxing, you had a 4-page insert pullout, which has technical information and who did what. Here's the tracks. It actually has John Sebastian playing. John Sebastian played harp and guitar. And the funny thing to listen for while I'm at this point is Jim calls up John Sebastian to jam with them. And I guess John comes up and doesn't have his harmonica. So Jim calls out to the audience, does anybody have a harmonica? Does anybody have a D harmonica, which I guess is tuned for D? And someone apparently had a harmonica in the audience, you know, stuff you carry around, right? Gave it up there, and Sebastian from the Loving Spoonful, obviously, jammed on them and used this guy's harmonica. So he's the only guest star in this. There's no bass player. I think they only had a bass player once on this tour. I forget his name now, but I would have thought it was Chef or Chief, but he was not on this tour, and apparently he never played with them live, just in the studio. So here you have the credits. This has technical information on some dropouts. I talked about some dropouts prior that were fixed digitally, and with all this new technology by that Botnick used when he mixed it. It these liner notes were from the original CD release of 2000. I think it came out in the summer of 2000. So there's really nothing new here, unless this reflection from Danny Sugarman is new. Sugarman wrote, I think he may have wrote "No One Gets Out of Here Alive," which is the great book on the Doors, and he may have wrote some other things on the Doors. Apparently, he's a Doors aficionado. But here are the inserts, inner sleeves rather. That's Krieger. Now I saw him live with a few friends of mine, and Big John, who does some videos with me a lot. My brother-in-law, Big John, and Ed Oskey came with me. My good friend Ed out there, who he's probably watching eventually. If he needs to sleep, I tell him watch one of these videos. If you suffer from insomnia, these will help. Here's the. This is side A. This has great tuning, and that's when, after they tune, which I love, the tuning really sounds cool because the speaker separation is really well done. The tapes on this were really well done. This sounds like it could have been recorded yesterday. I'm not kidding. I'm not really just saying that. There's a lot of records I buy that I'm kind of disappointed in the sound. Now, a lot of people told me that they were disappointed in the sound of, the new Beatles box at the Capitol 1964, 1965 American LPs. They were mono. They were not made to be audiophile records. So that said, that's where I'm leaving that. But these sound like audiophile records. I don't believe these are 180 grams. They're kind of lightweight. That's probably how they kept the price down. This priced out about $80 for a 4-record box set on Record Store Day. Only 5,000 made. I have a very low number. So here you have a facsimile ticket, and the ticket is ticket price was about $5. This is seat 16, row M, section D at Cobo, the iconic Detroit arena, whatever, right? 12,000 seats, so it's kind of small. So here's that. Now the problem with this is there are no plastic inside. So if you're just getting this, or if you haven't opened it yet, or if you're thinking about buying it in the secondary market after this review, you might want to be careful pulling those out, because you can scuff your record. And the packaging on this was okay. It could have been better. I guess they're trying to keep the price down. I would have liked to see a poster. One of my viewers asked me if there was a poster. I did a short on this, and I got probably over 1,000 views on the short within 10-20 minutes, which was a lot. I think, or maybe more time than that. But I think if it were polyline, it'd be better. Spend a little bit of money, charge us for that, because we're gonna have to buy the MoFi sleeves anyway. Here's the hype sticker, and I'll read the hype sticker. Recorded May 8, 1970, Cobo Arena, Detroit, Michigan. One of the longest door shows ever caught on tape. Includes a 17-minute version of The End. So it's a 19-minute version of Light My Fire. A real rarity among recorded live shows, available for the very first time on vinyl. And that's the hype sticker. Now what I do is I pull the shrink off the box, and then I keep it on one of these inner sleeves. And that keeps it intact. I put it back in the box. And all the covers are basically the same. The back has the listing, has a playbill or a concert bill from that. Here's a nice shot of Jim. These are like kind of animated, digitalized. And there's the ticket. That's the same. Side G has some great stuff on it. Mean Mustard Blues, Carol reprise. They did Carol earlier. Close to You. I'm a King Bee, which is great blues. I know. I love the Stones. They even do Rock Me Baby, Heartbreak Hotel, and then the one side is just The End, and that's that. So I think these could have been better. Could have been poly. There's the actual sleeve and label. Labels are all the same. The labels are not generic. Here's the box, and there's the tracks I'll hold up. But most people tend to focus on Jim when they do these records. Of course, Jim is Jim. He's unique. He's a miracle if you think about the intensity. But that being said, this review is not just about Jim. This review is about the Doors. These Doors, Krieger, Dinsmore, and what's the other guy's name? Krieger, Dinsmore, and Manzarek. They are the show. They are alive. They are into this. They are having fun. The audience is in the palm of their hands. It's in the palm of Jim's hands. I could just imagine them jumping around, because this is a wide sound stage on this recording. The stereo sound is coming from right and left. And I have BMWs. This was mixed on BMWs. I was supposed to check the model number. I know it's in here in the text. I'll go over that in a minute. But just kicks ass. The band is strong. The band is coming on strong. When they say the music's over, with the Doors, it's apparent now. The music will never be over for the Doors. But I just want to shout out to the band. They were just phenomenal. You know, Bobby Krieger, I saw his show live. Like I was saying, he did a complete Doors show. I've never seen the Doors. I was too young. But Raymond Zarek, who passed recently or a few years ago, just amazing. Held that bass line. And you would think that there was a bass player in the room. I even think he may have done some harmonies. I'm not sure if the harmonies were all him, or maybe the harmonies were some of the other dudes, or maybe John Sebastian. But there's some call and respond, like the blues song. This is basically a blues tour, a blues show. They got back to their roots, as you could tell from some of the tunes. Roadhouse Blues. They also do a great version of Curtis Mayfield. Remember him from Superfly? Curtis Mayfield and the Impressions. They did People Get Ready. They did Mystery Train after People Get Ready. They did Crossroads on this record. The Robert Johnson Crossroads on this record. They did Love Hides. They did Carol. They did I'm a King Bee. So you could see it was a blues vibe. And they knew they were being recorded because it was a show that was being broadcast. So they were on their best. Now, a funny thing to listen for is during Light My Fire, when Jim Morrison tells the audience, do not leave. We're running out of time. They're telling us to get off the stage. There was a curfew there of 11 or 12 o'clock curfew. And Jim said, after this song, do not leave. Don't let them push you out. We have another hour to go. We're going to pay for the rest of the night. The Doors were going to pay for whatever costs were incurred. In response to that, the Cobo Arena people said, you are never coming back to this arena. You are banned for life to this arena. Now, this was an iconic arena. This was a rock and roll arena. I'm sure before the Doors got there, I didn't check the dates, but it was probably Zeppelin was probably there around that time. The Who, I think I could Tina Turner there. We're in '72, so this was a rock and roll venue. But the Pistons played there too, and those guys were the bad boys of basketball. If you know the Pistons, they would muscle you out. They would win championships, but they were bad boys. They were the Oakland Raiders, of yesteryear of basketball. So that's a bad boy arena, but yet they kicked the Doors out because they played too long. And let me just check my notes here as far as the sound. The sound, I listened to this thing all last night. Then I listened to some of it later on because I wanted to hear some of the nuances again. It goes rather quickly. I didn't have one pop, one defect, one hiss, and I didn't clean all the records. I wanted to do, because Sound and Vision, my friend who does that from Texas, he had once said he doesn't clean the records because he wants to see, what do they really sound like hot off the press. I always clean them right away, but this time and a few other times, I want to see, like, what is that how clean is this record? These records were clean, even though the sleeves weren't polylined. So after that, I cleaned the records. I think I got a better soundstage when I cleaned them. It's a super mix. It's like a perfect mix. It's a widespread soundstage. It's excellent. The imaging is, this record has to be cranked. I listened to, because I have other people in the building, right, in the house, and I listened to it. A couple of songs I turned down a little bit so I could, read the liners as I was doing, and it's not the same. This record, if you turn it down, the band lacks. This record has to be played loud, and there's no simulance. It doesn't waver. There's no stretching of it where you're up too loud. I cranked it. My tubes were hot, and I cranked this record. Like I said, the boys in the band shine. It's not just Morrison, but Morrison without the band, without the Doors, without the three members. Really, if you think about it, it's technically a power trio. Only Jim is a singer. Cream, they played and they sang. Here, it's just the band, three guys, and Jim Morrison, the great vocals, who got stronger and stronger. He did not waver in this record. He sounded young in this record. He sounded strong in this record. Now, Jim without the rest of the band, without Ray, Bobby, and the other Dinsmore. It's not the same. It's like Sinatra with Nelson Riddle. Okay, it's Bruce with the E Street Band. Bruce without the E Street Band isn't that Bruce that you know and love. It's not Michael Jackson without Quincy Jones. It's a chemistry that a miracle that could only happen when these guys are together. Just like the Beatles, actually. The Beatles had some great solo stuff, but together, greater than the sum of its parts. Here's another shot of the box. So, just to sum up, get this record. You might spend a little bit more, gray area, but for 4 records and a beautiful box, it's recorded and mixed perfectly. I don't know how they did it. I never heard the CD. I think the CD got a bad vibe, but this is sensational. Jim Morrison is alive. Alive, she cried. He comes right at you. He does not stop. He does not let up. There's some ballads mixed in where he could take it. But don't forget, it's not like when Mick is playing with the Stones, although Mick is probably the greatest frontman of all time for a rock band. But Mick takes a few breaks. Keith does 2 or 3 songs. He'll take a break. He'll sing some ballads, but he plays. They play 3 hours. But Jim's concert was probably 1 hour and a half to 2 hours. But Jim does not let up on this. He is in the room. The room is alive. The band shines. Do not forget, this band is killer. These guys are killer. I never heard a guitar player like Bobby Krieger that could play the bottleneck and the blues. Ray Dinsmore is a jazz drummer. He sounds so tight. They are tighter than the Wrecking Crew. They are tighter than the Funk Brothers in their own way. Because they play in a lot of these songs. Jim is talking and they're filling in the gaps and playing behind him. They don't know what he's going to do. I remember when I was listening to an interview for Ronnie Tutt. Ronnie Tutt, who passed away, the great drummer for Elvis's live touring band. After '68, he was putting together a touring band, and they must have auditioned, hundreds of drummers for Elvis, right? Anybody who was anybody. And Ronnie Tutt said he thinks the reason he won the job is because he would watch Elvis, and when Elvis moved, he would accentuate that movement. And you could see that in these guys. They accentuate Morrison. They wait for Morrison. He springs on you. They spring behind him. So it's good. They're just perfect together. So the music's never over. I don't think I have anything else to say. One other thing about the Cobo Arena. I just checked my notes. This was real interesting. I hope you stay this long to watch. But in 1963, on June 23rd, Martin Luther King, the late Martin Luther King, delivered his original draft and speech of I Have a Dream speech that he later did in Washington. But he delivered it here first at the Cobo Arena to a full house. So just amazing. And then getting back to the Doors, because I'm trying to jumping around here, you know, the end is, I don't know, 17 minutes. It puts you into a hypnotic trance. Now, when I listen to that, I think of the movie Francis Ford Coppola's Apocalypse Now, because Apocalypse Now used the end in some of the sequencing. So I remember that. That's what I think about. If you're a movie guy, you might think about that. If you're a Apocalypse Now fan, Brando. And but anyway, he put you into this almost like a sleep. Like I'm there, you know, listening to it. Then he says, wake up, which was from a poem, I think. Wake up, and the band just explodes. So you will explode when you hear this. Like I said, it's a perfect recording. I didn't hear the dropout. There was supposed to be some things that were fixed in this record. I think it might be the Light My Fire record. Let me see here. When the music's over, like I said, the music's never over. There's a distortion, but I didn't really pay attention to it. They use, like I said, the BMW speakers. They tell you what mics were used, what amps were used for this recording, and for the show rather, and what amps were used for the recording, and also how it was edited and how it was mastered. So I guess Bernie maybe mastered the original CD and then later on did this. So this is a great recording that we were given on Black Friday. The Doors have a lot of live things, I guess, that are in the can that we will get. So we're pretty lucky, but it's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable concert. The band just comes together. It's really a good. It's really a good show. So I hope you get to hear it. If you want to demo it, stream it, crank it up though. Put on the headphones and crank it up, because like I said, this deserves to be loud and this deserves to be in your face. Because I thought I was in the fourth row, man, of Cobo. Cobo that's knocked down never dies now. You have this record. Go back and listen to the Bob Seger record, Live Bullet. I think 9 to 9. There's also a few tracks from Cobo on that. So anyway, that's my spiel. I'm sticking to it. Rest in peace, Jim Morrison and the rest of the guys in the band who passed away. And a great job by Bernie. Great job by Butnick or Butnick. You know. So that's it. Keep rocking. See you later. Thanks a lot. Ciao.